We're just a couple of months away from the Olympics and the Paralympics, which will be held in Tokyo. Lots of anticipation ahead of these big games. It's set to be held in just a couple of months from now. But joining us now to talk more about that, we want to bring in Scout Bassett, U.S. Paralympic track and field athlete, a five-time World Championship medalist. And Scouts, great to have you on the program. First, I just want to get your thoughts because we've talked to a few athletes in the past, but for you, the Olympics were postponed a full year, so that, of course, has a huge impact on your training schedule. How have you prepared for this, and what has the past 12 months been like for you?
Well, it's been a wild ride. For 5 months last year, the training facility that I train at was closed. Track, gym, everything. And so for 5 months, I ran in just about every park and trail in San Diego, just trying to stay fit and maintain, some of my fitness going into the fall. And so, of course, lots of at-home workouts and having to just really adapt and adjust. And it's been challenging both physically, I think more mentally, because athletes are so habitual and they're so used to being in a routine and having, a structure to their lives and the training regimen, and to every day sort of be piecing that together has definitely been challenging for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine having to juggle the physical side and the mental side, certainly draining when you think about all the uncertainties that come with the Olympic Games right now. Now we at least know that foreign spectators will not be allowed to travel to Japan. How are you thinking about the overall Olympic experience right now? And how comfortable are you with the protocols the Olympic Committee has set forward so far?
Well, the Paralympics is slightly a little bit different. And one thing, to be honest, is there really hasn't been a ton of information that's been disseminated about how that process is going to look like or what exactly those protocols will be. There's been very generic thoughts and ideas with testing, but there really hasn't been a lot of concrete details, which, as an athlete, I would certainly love to know more about what that's going to look like, just so that mentally we can prepare for what the process is going to be. I think the experience is going to be a very different games. As an athlete, we have been told to really manage, even lower sort of our expectations of the Paralympic experience. And I think that's fairly reasonable, given that this is not going to be a traditional games with fans and really the spectacle and the celebration that you would expect at a games is probably going to be quite different and pared down a bit. So, of course, for me, I'm disappointed to hear that because you work your whole life. And for me, it's been 4 years since Rio for this opportunity to get back. But at the same time, I'm excited about being able to compete with the best girls in the world, and just that opportunity having at games would be absolutely tremendous.
Scout, I want to take a step back because I read a lot about your incredible story, and I don't think a lot of our viewers are familiar with it. So if you could just talk to us just about your journey and how running has really helped you address some of those challenges and some of the hardships that you've come across in your life.
It's certainly been quite a journey for me. I was born in China and lost my leg when I was in a fire, and then later placed in a government orphanage where I lived until I was adopted at 7. And there's been obviously so much trauma and loss from the very beginning, but even just coming to America at 7 years old, not speaking a word of English, being raised in a town of 1,600 people, predominantly Caucasian, I think I always struggled to feel like I belonged and to have a sense of identity and trying to navigate a world that wasn't made for people like me, people that have disabilities. And so there's been so many challenges, but I count all of it, the hardships, the struggles, all of it a blessing, because I know that I would not be where I am today to have the kind of strength and courage and just drive and ambition if it weren't for that need to keep going, to push through, to survive. And I'm really grateful for those experiences.
Yeah, and Scout, I think your story being shared certainly an inspiration to a lot of people. I want to get back to what you said earlier, though, about the concerns about the vagueness with which the protocols have been addressed so far, at least coming from the Olympic Committee. Do you think that vaccination should be required for all athletes? We're talking about a summer timeline, presumably, at least in the U.S., there will be enough vaccines for the athletes. What do you think should be, where do you stand on that?
Well, I personally am eager to get the vaccine, and, if I could have already had it, or if I could take it now, I absolutely would. So I certainly want to send the message and encourage people to take the vaccine. But, I do know that for some, this is, political. And also, I know of a couple athletes that even with their religion, this is a bit of a conflict. And so I'm certainly sensitive and understanding of people in those situations. But absolutely, I think if there's a way that the IOC or the IPC could provide those vaccines or I'm not that we want to jump the line or anything, but to be able to have a games and for it to be safe, I think that would be amazing. And, because we are, even for our trials, which are June, the games are not until the end of August, but you have to qualify at the trials and you have to be safe. And I just think about the fact that there's probably going to be somebody that's worked their whole life for this opportunity and could get a positive test right before trials or at the trials and not even be eligible to compete for a spot on the team. And I think that would be really devastating. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But if there's a way where the athletes could be able to get it, more quickly before the trials, I think that would be a positive.
Well, Scout, we're certainly all rooting for you. We'd love to have you back on the show before you head off to Tokyo and compete in the Paralympics. Scout Bassett there joining us, U.S. Paralympic track and field athlete. Thank you so much.